This is Rob Hulse. He's our coffee expert, but he doesn't want to be called that.
No one wants to be called a coffee expert.
He's the only coffee expert I know. Noms and I don't drink coffee normally at all whatsoever. Noms doesn't like the taste and the caffeine makes me shaky, which is why we need a coffee expert to help us out with this, because we don't know much about coffee besides the fact that people drink it. Last year we went to Indonesia, which is supposed to be one of the biggest producers of coffee in the world, ranking at 4th or 5th. We also did an experience at Omakafe. Do you know anything about Omakafe?
I know that it is the cafe and home place of the World Barista Champion.
Omakafe is really interesting because they feature coffee drinks just as it is, but they also try to feature coffee in a way that you haven't really thought about it before. They train Indonesian baristas so that you can upskill baristas in Indonesia to try and think about coffee in a way that Indonesians haven't really considered it before. Currently in Indonesia, it's purely a commodity, but they want to elevate it to the point where it's the everyday luxury that people are trying to make it as now. So we went to Omakafe, and that was for our mum's birthday, and it's genuinely one of the best experiences we had in Indonesia. What you can do is order drinks separately, but they are especially known for their omakase coffee sets, which is why they're called Omakafe. It's a portmanteau of omakase and cafe. The sets each come with 3 drinks. The first one is coffee just as is, so it's usually pulled as an espresso or nitro cold brew. The second one is as a milk drink, and the third one is reimagined as a mocktail, or if you drink alcohol for a small extra fee, you can get it with alcohol too as a cocktail. They usually have 3 omakase sets, one of an Indonesian locally sourced bean set, one with an international bean blend, and one with a geisha coffee, so a really expensive top of the line bean. But they also have, if you don't like coffee, a cacao set and a matcha set too. But to be honest, even though we don't drink coffee, Noms, you and I, we liked the coffee one the most, hands down. The cacao one and the matcha one were nowhere near as good. Over there as well, you could buy these coffees. Some of them are blends that they make in store, but especially what we were interested in are the blends that were used by Mikael Jasin for the World Barista Champions, which is what we've got here today. Omakafe isn't necessarily run by Mikael Jasin, but what he does is to take the coffee drinks that are created by the innovators and the baristas working at Omakafe, and he approves them. So no drink goes by without the approval of the World Barista Champion.
The Omakafe sets are really interesting because they map the same stages that you'd have in the World Barista Championship.
Oh.
So the World Barista Championship rules ask you first for espressos, then for a milk-based beverage, finishing with a signature drink, which is a reimagining of the flavour profiles. So you were drinking a World Barista Championship set reimagined into a cafe environment as well.
I did not know that.
Excellent.
I wish I'd known that when we're in the thing.
I'd love to go to a cafe and see what they're doing there. I mean, the world is full of great innovations, and the joy of coffee is traveling around and seeing what different baristas are doing in different parts of the world, understanding how innovation can keep pushing the industry forward. What you've got here is really exciting though.
Okay, that's good to know.
Because we've got some standard coffee which you can buy from any local store, but what you've got here is some of the world's best coffee, where most coffees are served as a blend, which will be coming from lots of different countries. These are coffees that have come not only just from a single country, but from a single farm as well, then processed and presented to try to make the single best coffee flavour they can get out of the beans.
Starting with
Finca Deborah Ellipse. Really, this is just a title because Finca simply means farm. So this is just Deborah Farm, and Ellipse would appear to be the name of the coffee.
the name of the coffee is in the varietal, or they've just named it?
Literally just the name of this particular coffee. Because it's such a specific micro lot, they will name and identify them specifically.
So it's sort of like the batch.
Yeah.
Simply the batch.
Right down, yeah. This could be a very small number of specific trees in a specific part of the farm that will then be harvested and processed in order to create a very specific branded batch of coffee.
And this is the one single origin tiny batch, possibly a single tree.
And this would have been grown and made specifically for World Barista competitions.
Grown for?
Grown for.
How do you know that?
Simply because to really compete at that level, you need specialised skills in order to be growing to produce the flavours that you need to show up on the world stage. from 2016, 17, when people would begin to pay that level of attention to growing, when you had producing countries who were able to control the on-farm environments, you were able to see incredible coffees being developed and hand-picked in order to really accentuate the flavour profiles that you were looking for. We get slightly more information from RG Bourbon Tropical Fruit Forward Lush Natural, with the two most important words there being bourbon and natural. Natural referring to the processing method, which is where coffees are essentially left out to dry in the sun, which helps concentrate fruit flavour. And the second word being bourbon, which is referring to the varietal of coffee.
Is natural when it's left out to dry in the sun with the fruit still attached?
That's right.
That's before it's peeled and washed and stripped.
Yeah. And the other clues you can look at, you can see clues around the altitude it was grown at, based on the bean density, and also just the size of the beans in terms of plants and the nature that it was grown from.
As someone who doesn't drink coffee or is not like a coffee professional who learns a lot about coffee, I thought those words were descriptions on the flavor profiles. Does that have anything to do with that at all?
There are some flavor profile descriptors on here. Tropical Fruit Forward Lush is giving us a pretty good idea of what they expect this coffee to taste like, and that's backed up by the variety, processing method and origin of the coffee.
From the names alone, can you figure out which one is meant to be the as-is coffee and which one's meant to be the milk coffee?
Watching Mikael's presentation would be a better way of getting this information, but my guess would be that the natural would be the one that you would serve with milk. The heightened sweetness just providing more flavour that's going to show up in a milk-based beverage, where coffee that is lighter in colour will have more acidity, be a cleaner palate flavour, is more likely to show up best as a black espresso. Considering
that it's been about 3 months since we purchased this, and who knows how long since it was actually produced, is there an impact to the quality or flavour of the coffee?
There will be some. Coffee does tend to have a peak, although that peak can be 4 to 6 weeks after roasting, sometimes even longer. Some companies will actually freeze coffee beans in order to preserve their longevity, but given the way it's been stored in sealed vials, you're going to still get a really excellent cup of coffee out of this.
Can we open them up and smell them?
Mm-hmm. This is the natural. Yeah.
Oh, it's so winey. It smells so much like fruit.
It smells like candy.
It kind of smells like candy.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Okay, we'll do smell-o-vision. Here we go.
Whoa. Wait. That smells so good.
That's so good.
And this one.
Also good, but you can see how it's cleaner and like apricot.
Apricot is a really good description. It also smells a bit like toast. Toast and apricot. They smell very different. Mikael started off with the aji, which is his milk course, and then he followed it up with the signature, which is also the aji, but obviously we can't recreate the signature. And then he did the espresso one, which is the Debra. So we're gonna do it in that order, milk first and then the espresso.
We're gonna try our best, Mikael, but you did only give us 20 grams to work with.
You bought only 20 grams.
Well, I don't think it's world barista champion quality.
The bitterness sort of spreads throughout the mouth.
You get really distinctive flavours from it. Like I was talking about cantaloupe and black forest and those flavours, you're going to understand what he's talking about in a cup like this.
And then you don't have the right concentration of milk either. The milk will be a lot sweeter than what we have here, right?
Yeah, he would have used a much sweeter milk.
It was alright.
Finca Debra Ellipse Geisha. Smell that one. It's should make a more delicate jasmine-y, lovely cup.
It smells winey, like the first one. But I can see what you mean with the apricot.
Geishas will be floral and clean and gentle.
I just remember I don't like geishas. That is so strange.
Thoughts are hard. We haven't brewed a World Barista Championship routine espresso here. You can taste the coffee underneath, has floral notes and fruit flavours, but there is also an element that age might have caught up on this coffee.
That's a politically correct way to say it.
Specialty coffee is an amazing product and it tastes delicious, but we've often found that it's really inaccessible to the market. The jargon is intimidating and it's really hard to get the flavours that are promised when you see it poured at the highest level.
Omakafe is as close to the World Barista Champs as you get. So in terms of coffee, that's quite a contemporary style. If you want to go for a more everyday experience, then you go to Dunia Kopi, which is in the middle of Pasar Santa. It's literally just a wet market with tubs and tubs and tubs of roasted coffee beans in jars that they sell at a little stall called Dunia Kopi. Coffee World. You can buy coffee there, by the way. What you can also do is actually try the coffee on location, and they're quite friendly to foreigners because they get a lot of people coming in from Japan to just buy coffee, just like bags and bags of coffee. So what you do is you ask for a little cup and then take a little scoop, take it over to the barista, which is like in another stall in the same market. They'll grind the beans, pull the shot, and you can taste espresso for completely free. And if you're obviously a foreigner, they're much more accepting of you to try as many coffees as you like without the pressure of buying it, should we say. So that's one coffee experience that we highly recommend, especially if you like coffee and you want to try different coffees in Indonesia, because this is a really farm to cup experience. I reckon he has at least 100 different kinds of coffee. It might not all be on the sales floor, but I reckon he works with so many different farmers and he would have more than one kind of coffee bean per farmer as well. So you can ask for so many different kinds. If you're looking for specific flavor profile as well, he can recommend you specific coffees to fit your taste.
So something he did tell us was that he specifically goes to farms and tells the farmer to grow a coffee type or flavor type of coffee for him.
Because he reckons that it would be suitable in that altitude or in that soil.
It was great to get a bag that came out of the blue. It was Indonesian local coffee. I've been a huge fan of Indonesian coffee for a long time. I think that it delivers wonderful acidity and really clean cups, especially when you get high quality, high grown, carefully harvested stock. And the stuff you brought me back was fantastic. Really high acidity, really clean in the cup. I brewed it as a filter for most of it, so I was drinking it black, and yeah, it was really delicious.
If you're at a place like that, and I know that you haven't been there and you don't know what's available, what kind of coffees would you be looking for?
It's always nice to try coffee from the country of origin. So it's the best thing if you're in a growing country to drink their coffee. Because coffee is a culture around the whole world, it's also equally quite exciting to take a country's understanding their take on coffee. So whether it is a Colombian or an Ethiopian or a Kenyan coffee, you still will have different styles of roasting that they'll apply to it, and also just different ways that they value the flavor profiles that you're getting out of those coffees.
How many cups of coffee do you think you can drink before you crash out?
That is one of the big dangers on a coffee tour, is there's so much good coffee to try and you will keep going. We've done Melbourne trips where you'll go 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 coffees deep and then suddenly realise that you've been walking for 4.5 hours, have had no food, and you're talking at 1,000,000 miles a minute. So it's one of the hazards of the job, drinking too much coffee.
If you had one day in Jakarta and you could only go to one experience, which one would you choose?
If I had to choose one option to really get an understanding of coffee. I think back to what was my big breakthrough in understanding the world of coffee, and that was the ability to try coffees from lots of different origins side by side. That was the penny drop moment for me when I really began to understand that specialty coffee was something that was distinct country to country and origin to origin. So for me, if you want a broad range of coffees to really have that in proper explanation, I think that, you know, the market's the place to be.
That was Rob, our coffee expert. Not coffee expert. That's Rob, our caffeine man. That was Rob, our bean boy. That was barista Rob.
Thank you.
Thank you. Everything's okay?
All good.